So now we're going back to the Misty Lake because it turns out we were on the right track when we came to the first level. So for this part, we're going to have to go through the first level, so the first part that we went through in the first video all over again. So I'm just going to skip that nonsense. So last time we came here, when we crossed this bridge, that was the end of the level and that was it. But actually it turns out there's more level after that. So, there's more to the Misty Lake, and now I want to bring something up. So, when this game first came out, which was a while ago now, I think about 2 years now, as of this recording, this area, I can't remember if you went through this area in the first level, so what would have been the first video if I had done it back then, because after this game came out, there was like a series of patches, like 3 or 4 patches that came out, and the last one kind of changed stuff up a bit. So I can't actually remember if you got to play through this area in the first level when the game first came out. I didn't feel like uninstalling and then reinstalling without the patches just to see, so I didn't do that. So I don't actually know. I think you might have been able to, but I can't remember. In any case, if you were able to, then you did still have to go through this level all over again because the story plays out in the same way. That didn't change. So if you look at the mini-map, this area is kind of big-ish. There's quite a bit you can walk around and look at. But as I've been kind of, hammering in for the whole playthrough, I don't really see the point. So, like, occasionally, if there's a point that's not too far out of the way, or if there's more of the map to see, maybe I'll go for it. But I generally haven't been. So this area is actually decently large. I don't know why that yellow pot is just there either. It's just kind of there. But this area is pretty big. It's almost like part of like some of the levels we've been to recently. Except maybe Chiraden, because you could just, hold up and you're good. I don't know why this area is so big, and if I'm remembering correctly, and you were able to access this area the first time you played the game in the first level, that's a pretty big first level. This right here is sort of a nice touch, though. It's kind of like a nice little kind of shoreline for the lake, sort of. There's certain little touches in the levels that I like, but I have a problem with them because some of them you don't always get to really see. Mostly because, like I said, there's not a huge need to explore in this game. So we're at the end of this little area now. All I have to do is just go down this little stretch here and we're good. There's still a ferry to beat up, so I may as well do that. So here we are, we're in some big underwater facility. Also, there's Kappas. I don't think we fought Kappas yet. They're here because this is some big underwater ground facility, I guess. So this level is also decently huge too, but I guess it kind of deserves to be because this is basically the last level in the game. This is the final stretch. We're pretty much at the end here. I do like the music that plays in this level because it really kind of fits the atmosphere. So I've been talking a lot about how I don't like the loot game aspect of this game, and I think I have a pretty good reason for that. The main reason I don't like it is because I ended up, like, at some point just replaying through Kenkeki Musou as I was recording these, and I was thinking about that game, and I was comparing it to this game, and the Yomu game kind of seems to get things, like, almost, like, kind of just right. Like, there's some things about it that, you know, could be better, but I certainly like that a little bit more than this game. Not to say this game is bad, I just think there are things that it doesn't do as well as the Yomu game, or things that it tries to do, but it's just not that great. For example, in the Yomu game, you had to do, like, some kind of exploration because you had those yellow pots that would actually drop your skill orbs, and that was like leveling up, because then you'd have access to more skill tower, so you can spam your skills and whatever you needed to do during boss fights and other parts of the level. In this game, it's not really like that, because you have the loot game aspect, so, like, some loot will up your skill gauge, others will up your health. There's also, like, a traditional leveling system. I think that if they wanted to go with the loot game aspect on this game, there are some things that maybe they could have done different or better. Like, maybe if they focused a little bit more on, like, the combat, made it a little bit different, like spiced it up a bit, gave it a little bit more depth. I could go for the loot game then, maybe, just a little bit, because I don't really like loot games in general. But I can understand it being there if they did something like that, maybe. Or if they, like, tried to do something different with, like, the level design. Because, like I said, there's really no real reason to go exploring, because, like, really the only reason you're going to do that is to get, like, the bigger, better, rarer items and stuff, and you don't really need to do that because you can get by just fine with items that you just pick up from, like, enemies just dropping when you beat them. And that's not really going to make any fight like easier or harder, because the game's really not that tough. If they were able to do it so that the difficulty kind of scaled up as you went on, like boss fights were a little bit more challenging and something like that, that'd be fine. Like if the fights got more like Oku and more like the Three Fairies at the same time, that'd be a lot better, actually, because those fights are actually challenges when you get to them for the first time and you're not all leveled up. If the boss fights kind of scaled in difficulty, or at least in challenge level, because Oku was just fun, but she wasn't really all that different from all the other bosses, having to fight all 3 Fairies of Light at the same time is pretty fun, and it's kind of a challenge because you have to cope with all of them doing all of their things all at the same time, and there's just a ton of bullets on screen. I'd like boss fights that are more like that. Also, there's a Soldier Kappa. I don't know why they're there. I guess it's because when they did the last patch, Soldier Kappas showed up in Wild and Horned Hermit. I haven't read that one either, so I don't know why they're in that one either. But that's official, so it's not a fan thing. And like I said about level design, then you have spots like Chiraden where you can explore, but there's no need to explore. I think maybe if there was like something kind of blocking your path to Satori and kind of gave you a reason to go through those other 2 sections, that would be a lot better. Not because it would pad out the length of the game, but because then it would give those areas purpose. Basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of bits of level that I feel like they don't need to be there because they're not part of, you know, the critical path. And it's not like there are any side quests or anything in this game. Like, there's no side objectives in any of the levels. If you did have something like that, like side objectives you could do, even if they're hidden in each level, then I could see why you might want to go out of your way. I could see why you would have big chunks of map that don't lead towards the boss and don't lead towards your objective. That would kind of make sense to me. And that would actually be kind of cool if this game did that, but unfortunately, it didn't. The other reason, and I've explained this part before too, but the other reason I don't like the loot system in this game is because you also have proper, like, traditional leveling mechanic, and loot kind of renders that meaningless because you have all these items that drop and that you get from chests and pots and stuff that alter your stats, when leveling up is really what's supposed to do that, I think. Or at least that's what's supposed to do in most games that are like trying to be like, you know, RPG or even action RPGs. So that's another one of the reasons why I don't really like the loot game aspect of this game. I feel like by adding that loot game aspect, they're kind of like messing with what, like, they kind of had a good formula going in Kenkake Musou, and I feel like they wanted to change it up. The loot game aspect probably wasn't the best way to do that. Again, maybe if there was like a little bit more depth to the combat, I don't know how you would do that, but if you did that, like on some level, instead of just, you know, hitting attack and using a skill every so often, I can kind of forgive the loot game. If they did something with the level design that was a little bit more interesting, instead of something that's linear that kind of makes it look like it's not trying to be linear, sort of, then I can also kind of forgive the loot game mechanic, because then there'd be a reason for all those parts of the levels where they only exist to get loot. They'd exist for some greater purpose, like a side objective, or just something you have to do in order to open up a path to get to the main objective. just a couple of things that I thought of that would kind of make this game a little bit more fun. Also the difficulty. Everybody, apparently, a lot of people complained about the difficulty in this game because it's actually a lot easier than Kekkeki Musou. A difficulty slider would be great because Kekkeki Musou was good. Oh hey, there's my second death from something that wasn't platforming. In the Yomu game, you had different difficulties you could pick. You could pick one difficulty for your main game. You could actually pick a different difficulty for extra stage, which is kind of odd, but hey, there you go. But it wasn't like set at, you know, whatever difficulty it just was, like this game is. And I think a difficulty selection would also be pretty good because this game's not that hard. And I didn't really want to go so far as to use like the English patchers system to kind of tweak the difficulty. I didn't really think that necessary for what I'm doing, which is like just doing this playthrough. But I guess people use it if they want more of a challenge. I think a proper difficulty selection would go a long way to making this game a little bit better, improving on it. I'm talking about all this stuff because I kind of just want to sum it all up. Everything I feel, everything I thought about this game. It's good fun. I like it. Don't get me wrong. These are just all the things I think that the devs could have done, or devs that the Circle could have done, that would have definitely improved on the game and the experience. I like the quiet bits like this because it lets you actually appreciate a little bit of the sound design and the sound direction. Because you don't have the music playing over all the sound effects, you can actually hear all the sound effects as they are. And I know like a lot of people probably don't care about that, but I think it's kind of cool when you can actually like take all that stuff in. Because I'm one of those people who is like really into like the production of stuff, because I think that stuff is really cool, actually. I don't know why she calls it the unimaginable heavenly rule. Just call it Hiso Tensoku. I'm pretty sure anybody like kind of familiar with that game would get it. Oh, so we're gonna fight Hiso Tensoku. So, when we fought Sunny Milk, I thought that maybe this game could be happening like within the same week, or even at the same time as the Yomu game, but I realized at the time that I kind of forgot about this boss fight, so that kind of blows that theory out of the water, unless Nitori can rebuild an upgraded Hiso Tensoku super fast, because Yomu destroyed the first one. Then I don't think these games take place at the same time like that. I really like the boss music for Hiso Tensoku Mark II. It just sounds really cool. It's Hiso Tensoku's theme. It's the same thing that played when you fight him in the Yomu game, except it's just a completely different arrangement. And I just like this kind of sound. So he's got a few different attacks. He hasn't shown them all off yet, but whenever he uses his hands, he kind of sticks to the rim that you're standing on a little bit. And that's your opening to attack, because you have to attack his hands. Certain attacks he does, you can only go in a certain direction. It's just easier that way, or else you just get damaged no matter what, like that drill. You always have to go to the right. If he chops with one hand, you want to go in the opposite direction. If he punches with one hand, you want to try going in the opposite direction. Unless you want to use a skill to do some damage, in which case you just gotta time it right. He also got these explosions, and sometimes he'll get a little bit tired of trying to fight you, and he'll just fly up and try and hit you that way, by just zooming at you. But for the most part, he'll just stick to punching you and using projectiles. And there's that flight move I was talking about just now. For that, you just gotta move. Don't stand still, or he'll hit you. I actually kind of really like this boss fight because it kind of reminds me of the Guilty Fire boss fight from Ys Origin when you fight Gilaldi. Although that boss fight has a little bit more going for it, it's a little harder. But I mean, they both the two bosses have like very different moves. Very different things that they do, so it's kind of hard to compare them, but the stage that it's set on and just where the boss is and how he's attacking, it feels very similar. When he bashes on the ground like an angry child like that, you just gotta jump twice because he'll hit twice, and his fists send out little shocky waves, so you want to be careful for that. Also, just like the snake boss we fought before, if you have any ranged skills equipped, you can actually head straight forward, face forward, and use those skills, and you can hit him from the rim. You don't have to wait for his hands to come down to attack. When he does that punch, all you gotta do is just jump over his fist and his shocky wave, because his hand's not gonna stop like it does usually. You can also use a skill to get those invincibility frames. Oh, come on. I only just gotta hit him once. There we go. Xbox says Sane, but Sane is not the one saying that. They're saying in the dialogue about how Suika can't lie, but... Well, Oni can't lie, but Suika kinda can lie, but she can't lie, like big time. I think she can only really do, like, little white lies or lying by omission. So, this is another boss fight that I actually really like in this game. It's Suika, again, because she was behind the whole thing. It's basically a remix of the fight with her that we did on Yokai Mountain. Except she's a lot tougher this time, so it's a bit more fun. Also, the fight with Hiso Tensoku I also really like. Mostly because of the music, but it's also kind of a fun boss fight. But Suika, especially, is really fun because she's actually pretty tough, and that makes sense because she is the final boss. So he has a spell card, watch out for the bullets, and watch out for the big rocks. For the most part, a lot of the things she does are pretty much the same. Except she's got this move where she enlarges herself and shoots out some bullets. You can still jump over her rocks, but this time she shoots 3. This time she'll actually enlarge herself, so you want to watch out for that. Also, she's pretty tough. Her health doesn't go down that fast, so feel free to use your spell card whenever you can, because you'll probably be able to use it 1 or 2 times more before you're done with the fight. If you're not careful, Suika actually can kick your ass. You don't want to jump during this spell card because it'll suck you in, but you do want to watch out for the bullets and little Suikas. But like I was saying, if you're not careful in this fight, Suika can just rip you a new one because there's no health pots in this boss fight, which I kind of wish all the boss fights were like that. Also, Suika's strong. She can take out chunks of your health, so don't let her hit you too much. That's not a good idea. Also, I really like the music that plays for this boss fight. It's kind of like a mix of Broken Moon from the Fighters, and a mix of Except for Dead Princess, which is Remilia's boss theme. I think it's Broken Moon.